Ukrainian road cutter drones are strangling Russian supply lines and saving Pokrovsk. The Russian assault on Pokrovsk, a fortress city anchoring a whole line of urban settlements stretching north across eastern Ukraine, continues to stall, a pro-Ukrainian Russian analysis group reported. According to the conflict intelligence team, Ukrainian brigades recently counterattacked a few miles south of Pokrovsk, recapturing terrain around the village of Lysivka and adding to the defensive buffer around the city itself. The successful operation followed a similar Ukrainian counterattack earlier this month on the western side of Pokrovsk. Russian advances around the village of Baranivka, 15 miles east of Pokrovsk, belie the overall downturn in Russian fortunes on the axis between the ruins of Avdiivka and Pokrovsk. For more than a year, this axis loomed large in Russian war plans. After bombarding Avdiivka into rubble last February and finally ejecting the ammunition-starved Ukrainian garrison, the Russian center grouping of forces, on paper, at least 50,000 troops plus thousands of vehicles, has ground toward Pokrovsk, 25 miles to the west. Late last year, the Russians reached the city's suburbs. There, they met a veritable wall of Ukrainian drones. According to CIT, Russian sources attribute the Russian slowdown to the increased concentration of Ukrainian forces, particularly drone units. Ukraine produced 2.2 million explosive first-person view drones last year, and aims to make even more this year, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said recently. Russia has also produced millions of drones, but Ukraine's are of better quality. Effective Ukrainian jamming often grounds all but the best Russian drones. The fiber optic models that don't rely on radio. To suppress Russian fiber optic drones, which are controlled via long unspooling cables, Ukrainian drone teams around Pokrovsk have learned to spot the long fibers reflecting the sun. Not only do Ukrainian drones harry frontline forces, they also fly miles behind the front in order to hunt Russian supply trucks threading the roads toward Pokrovsk. These road cutter drones have turned one important Russian supply line, the Ocheretyn-Praoris Road, into a graveyard of Russian trucks, vans, cars, and all-terrain vehicles. The road cutters often target the same choke points, striking vehicle after vehicle and creating traffic-impeding piles of wreckage. The attacks have significantly complicated logistics for the Russian armed forces. Sensing defeat, the Russians are pivoting to other objectives, the Ukrainian Center for Defense Strategies explained. The Russian command is focusing its main attention not on Pokrovsk, but on the adjacent Novopavlovka and Toretsk directions. Russian forces are attempting to advance on the Pokrovsk sector, with heavy fighting ongoing. Russian forces attacked Ukrainian defensive positions near the settlements of Vodiane, Druhe, and Ulakli. They are trying to leverage their numerical advantage and continue their offensive. Heavy fighting continues. Russia focuses on seizing Ukraine's Pokrovsk amid reports of heavy losses. Russia concentrates on the Donetsk region, hoping for a decisive breakthrough, as Ukraine claims Moscow has lost almost 835,000 men. About half of Russian assaults across a 1,000-kilometer front have focused on the town of Pokrovsk, in Ukraine's east, throughout the past week. The town is considered to be a gateway to the most heavily fortified areas left in Ukraine's hands in the region of Donetsk. Last week, Ukrainian commanders reported that large numbers of Russian forces were amassing there for a concerted push to take the town, which has held out for a year. The enemy is trying to advance around the clock, Maxim Bakulin, a spokesman for the Ukrainian National Guard unit fighting in Pokrovsk, told Army TV on Tuesday. Russian forces were going back to using heavy armor and vehicles after a period of infantry attacks, he said. Previously, they often sent troops on foot. Now, in most cases, they bring them closer, land them, and try to fight under the cover of artillery and multiple launch rocket systems. On Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia had dropped 1,250 glide bombs over the preceding week, about twice the usual number, in an indication of how the battlefield had heated up. Russia tends to use glide bombs on Ukrainian front lines. Meanwhile, on February 24, 22, Russia invaded Ukraine, and Moscow has since lost 868,220 soldiers, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine announced on Monday. In comparison, estimates of Ukraine's losses are a fraction of Moscow's. As a result of its casualties, Russia has struggled with a personnel shortage amid its large-scale assaults, having difficulty replenishing its ranks with adequately trained personnel.